So far we have learned the difference between simple interest rate and compound interest rate. And I showed you how to construct this beautiful formula. And now I want to show you other forms of this formula. So we will use the same formula for other purposes as well. So in the formula that I showed you, the aim is to compute future value. So we already have cash flow today, and we want to know the value of this cash flow in the future time. Sometimes, however, we already have the value of a cash flow in the future, and we want to compute its value today. So this is called compounding. Means we want to compute the value of a cash flow today and forward it to the future. We can write the formula in the way to compute present value. So the same formula, I just bring this present value to this side and future value to this side. Or okay, let me make it easier. So we just put this here. Means we write the formula to compute present value. So it's future value divided by 1 plus Rn. So I just put this here, right? So it's the same thing, but we use it when we want to compute present value. For example, you expect to receive maybe $1,000 next year, and you want to know what's the value of this $1,000 next year today. So you can compute based on the interest rate that you consider. There are other forms as well. For example, sometimes we know we will receive maybe $1,000 next year, and we know what's the value today. Now we want to compute the interest rate. So we can write the formula based on R. It means we want to compute R. So the same formula. So I write the same formula in a way to find R. So sometimes we know the future value, we know the present value, and we know number of periods. So we want to compute the interest rate per period. Or sometimes in some cases, you may want to find N, means for how many periods. For example, then you can write the formula in the way to compute N. So it's ln of FV divided by PV divided by ln of 1 plus R. You can find these formulas in your textbook and in the slides, of course. And the example for this one can be for example, there is a loan, and you know the interest rate the bank wants to charge you. You know how much you are receiving today, and you know the value of this loan in the future, and you want to know for what's the time, what's the period, what's the number of periods between today and the time that let's say you will receive the loan or you will return back the loan. So these are the 4 forms of the formula that can be used to answer compound interest rate questions. Okay. When you compute the present value based on future value, this is called discounting. So compounding means you have the present value, you take it to the future. Discounting means you have the future value, you bring it to the present time. You want to know what's the value of a future cash flow today. This is called compounding. So for compounding, we bring future value to today's time to see what's the value of the cash flow in the future today. and compounding means taking the present value to the future. So these are the four main formulas for compounding interest rate. And there is something here you can see. Because R is in the denominator of the formula for present value, this means that the present value, there's a negative relationship between present value and interest rate. Means higher interest rate, lower present value. What does it mean? This means that, for example, if interest rate is high, maybe in a country with a very high inflation rate, so of course interest rate should be higher as well, because later you will see interest rate should cover the inflation rate. So in some countries like Venezuela or maybe Iran, because the inflation rate is high, so interest rate also is high. So in these countries, the value of a cash flow that you receive in the future will be less today, right? So yep. So there is a negative relationship between present value and interest rate. And yep, later I will show you some examples to see how you can use these formulas. And also I will show you how to use your financial calculator to do all these calculations. Because for these two, it's a bit difficult to use these formulas and do the calculation manually, but using a financial calculator, it will be much easier. Okay, so let's go for the next video.